Hello, I'm Jenny Fern, and welcome to what will soon be my garden. I am got an itchy little boy over there. I am a chaotic neutral mechanical engineer who is really into books and wants to talk about gardening. So let's head out into my garden, and we are going to do a super quick and easy, simple video about harvesting in this time of year. It is, as of filming, March 18th. And I am in California Zone 9B. Just want to show the types of food that I'm harvesting right now and just how easy it can be to garden throughout the winter to get a spring harvest. So let's go harvest some spring veggies, some early spring veggies. I think that will be fun. I'm going to start here with these tree-collared florets, because it is just the time of year to harvest them. The greens themselves are getting narrower because the plant is bolting. So the greens are a little bit past their prime at the current moment, but these florets haven't gotten infected or infested with the aphids yet. And they haven't opened up in flower yet either. Of course, some of these will open up in flower, and that's fine. With aphids, though, I don't really want to eat that. So I just let those stay on the plant. So I use these a lot like broccoli. They're very, very similar to broccoli florets, except they're not quite as sweet. To me, they seem a little bit nutty. I like how broccoli has that nutty flavor, but this just does not have the same sweetness that broccoli has. So if I go to a few plants that have this many, then I'll have enough for a little meal. Or if I use some of the greens along with this, I'll also have enough to saute into some sort of meal that pairs with, I don't know, it could go with pasta or rice or something like that. So I'll take some of these greens as well. That's what we have. Over here, I have an absolute ton of chard. And they're all kind of small, but wow, what a huge isopod. Let me show you this. This guy's giant. Look at how huge this thing is. What a cutie pie. Okay, gotta put him back. Okay, I was just mentioning that they're quite small, but this one, you know, I got some big ones in there. You just have to try to find them. I should mention I haven't done anything to tend to this bed this whole winter. I have basically been neglecting this entire corner because I don't like weeding these beds. I just seem to prefer if I can weed by simply laying more mulch down on top rather than by actively pulling anything out, because it's a lot easier. Oh, well, I just pulled this whole thing off on accident. So we'll just take all of the tasty bits. Did not want to do that, but that's okay. Just lay it back in for the critters. That's quite a lot. Now we have purple tree collards, and these are still quite tender. So I have more greens. And these are also going to go to flower, so I can get those florets as well. That's why it's nice to have different varieties of the same plant in different spots as well, because you can get slightly extended harvests if one goes to flower. One nearby might have slightly different conditions, and then it will go to flower like a week later, and then you can get slightly different harvest times so that you're not overwhelmed with one thing at one time. I will say, you kind of got to be a fan of variety when you're eating out of your own garden, because it's very rare to get a bunch of the same thing unless that's what you're aiming for. I think you can see that. These are the eggs of a harlequin beetle, which is technically a pest. You can see this white staining. They suck the juices out of the leaf. They don't really do that much to the plant, just a little bit of damage. And those are the eggs right there. So I'm going to put this back in the garden. Honestly, I don't do anything to prevent them. So far, almost all of these have been brassicas. Yeah, except for the chard, which is not a brassica. And they do really, really well in winter with very little care. Their main pest in this garden is the cabbage butterflies. And there are these caterpillars that eat the leaves. Okay. Yeah, I kind of thought that this would be not very impressive, but it was starting to go to flower. So this is a radish. This doesn't have the best root, unfortunately. So I'll leave this one here. And we can at the very least eat these greens. Otherwise, it's really not that much of a shame to have a wimpy little radish. But yeah, radish greens are edible. So, as I was saying, the cabbage butterflies are in action right now. At this point, I've gotten a lot of use and harvest out of my brassicas, so I don't really mind that they are starting to get eaten by these butterflies. They don't like it to be too cold, so they don't really do anything in the middle of winter when my greens are growing. So it's not really a big deal to have them floating around. So now I'm just picking, again, some more of these florets. Again, checking to make sure there's no aphids all up in there, because that can happen. I do have quite a lot of ladybugs in the garden at this point, and they'll be eating all of those. But sometimes the ants do farm the aphids in certain places, which I can show you right after we leave this plant alone. So when the florets get too flowery, I just let them go to flower, and then we can get seeds, and we can get some more genetic diversity in our tree collards. I feel like I really only have 3 different varieties. One is this very green variety. The other is that purple variety. And then I have one in the front yard, which is really, really similar to this green variety, but it has slightly more ruffled, thick leaves. I actually really like that one. I thought at first that it was a broccoli, but it's clearly not a broccoli. So I think it's a tree collard. Okay, so that's my harvest so far. Oh, you can't see this at all. There we go. And let me take you over to those aphids, and then we can call it a day. Here we can see a little aphid ant farm. They're encouraging aphids on this. I think it's an artichoke, it might be a cardoon. They encourage the aphids. I'm not sure exactly how, if they like defend them from bugs or whatever, because they want to harvest the excrement of the aphids themselves. They produce like this sweet liquid. You can tell how super active the ants are in this area with how this soil is disturbed. You know what else? I'm gonna harvest some oregano because it just looks super lush. And I feel like oregano would be pretty good in those greens. So here you can see, if I did this and this, and maybe even take off some of these, I could plug this in the ground and have more oregano. So I think I probably will do that. Anywhere that there's not a plant, you're gonna have weeds that want to come in. So you might as well have oregano. This is, whoa, that crow. Then when I'm done with this, I'll saute these up for my lunch tomorrow. And I'll get my dog and we'll play with her a little bit. Pretty much don't need this much oregano. It's really, really easy to grow way more oregano than you need. And then thyme as well. Let's get closer in on this thyme. Just pick a few of these. Just like oregano, thyme is also really easy to put in spots of the garden. It just doesn't travel quite as quickly, but it propagates really, really easily. And the flavor of thyme is really good with mushrooms. I have been keeping my eye out for some King Schaffaria mushrooms in my yard. I haven't seen any yet. So I'm waiting for the big old flesh of them. So let's also move the thyme over. So to propagate this, I'll just do basically the same thing. Just strip a bunch of the leaves and leave just a little nubbin. Here, below my cherry tree, is where we have a lot of space. We've got a lot of weeds. I call this bindweed here. So I'm just gonna dig that up. And then I'm just gonna lay this down just like that. It'll rain somewhat soon. I'm gonna put it right here. Yeah, man, this soil is already getting really hard. Those may not survive, but that's it. That's all I'm gonna do. Now it's time to go get the dog. You want it? You want it? Hey, Clove, touch. Touch. Good job. Can you, Clove? Through. Okay. All right. Sure. Good job. Come here. Through. Good job. Spin. Good job. Sit. Good job. Lay down. Very good. Are you ready? What? Why don't you want the ball? I did pick one more thing. A Florence fennel. I don't know. I just picked it while I've been out here with my dog. So I thought I needed to explain that I picked this. So we are back in the kitchen. Here, my herbs, my fennel, and the stems from the chard. Those are all in here. Those are going to be sauteed first. I'm really, really low on garlic at this time of the year. I can show you. I have one. I have one. So I'm eagerly awaiting the return of garlic. So this will saute first, then I'll add in these florets. See, it adds up to be quite a lot. And then just a boatload of greens. That'll all basically steam on top. And I'll have that for lunch tomorrow, basically. Here it is after cooking down. See, the greens cook down a ton. But yeah, this would be really, really good with rice. When I eat this tomorrow, I'm just gonna eat it straight. But you see how this looks just like broccoli? It's really good. That's really good. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Just a casual evening out in the garden, picking my vegetables and making some food with them. If you did enjoy it, consider sharing it with somebody who would also like it. Consider liking and subscribing, and I will talk to you again soon.